Rules to protect succession. Right after the wedding, there was no possibility that you might be carrying the next king.
Frustrated by her first days of marriage to the king, a lonely Charlotte finds a confidant and advisor in Lady Agatha Danbury. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm. And today I'm reviewing episode number 2 of Queen Charlotte. As always, spoilers abound, so be aware. Now, I've got to say, I love the series. I love the first episode. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. This episode, very good as well, and I can't wait to review this whole series. Now, before we get started, I do want to just remind you what happened in our last episode. In the first episode, Charlotte of Mecklenburg was betrothed against her will to King George. She arrived in London and became queen while facing scrutiny from the monarch's mother. Reigning Queen Charlotte faced a crisis of succession among her children. And with that, let's get started with episode number 2. So, man, it looks like we're starting right from the beginning. Or right from the end of where we did last time. Okay, getting her ready.
Diary, Your Majesty.
I assume there will be charity visits, the poor or orphans. I know I must meet with my...
Okay. She knows what's supposed to happen.
Brimsley, I am the Queen. I have duties, official duties, do I not?
But not during the honeymoon.
This is my honeymoon.
Yes, Your Majesty.
Of course, there's no king there at her honeymoon.
Of course they are. He is the king. He is well suited to anyone.
They are so funny.
Very modern now. In my day, there were 7 people in the bedchamber on my wedding night.
It's amazing what we call progress today.
It's just that he has his own mind.
Very independent.
A most original thinker.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Not been taken. That would hurt the great experiment.
Okay, and this great experiment. Lots of talk about it.
It is a wonderful experiment. Long live the experiment.
Long live the king. You know, she really wants him to be there. You know, when you think of it, it's sort of like they're dressing her up like a doll. And she enjoys the food, it seems. And another day. And waiting on her hand and foot. I mean, it really does have to be a little frustrating.
Patience is not always a virtue.
All right, so we're going back to this.
Perhaps good things do not always come to those who wait.
Oh, Lady Danbury, and this is future Danbury.
There are some very special joys well worth waiting for.
And she's the lady of...
Shame on you.
If he loves her...
You are one to talk. Your lady friend is married.
Okay, here's old Queen Charlotte having issues with her kids again. Okay, this first little section here, just the introduction and showing sort of the repetitiveness and sort of the boredom of what she's going through during her honeymoon period here. She doesn't have the king there. She can't go out and see anybody else. And she's just sort of eating, getting dressed, walking around, being waited on hand and foot. They're getting books out of the bookshelf for her. And sometimes you just want to be independent, whether you're the queen or not.
How is it that none of you have managed respectable relationships?
Mother,
And her concern about getting an heir.
Your father and I have provided Great Britain with a great bloodline.
And you know, this is something the queen would have worried about.
Singing would result in anything remotely. I have a responsibility. I have a duty.
And just seeing them all together, it's crazy.
See which of King George's children will bring us closer to a royal heir to the throne.
The only little thing there is they all seem to be way too close in age.
Brimsley,
yes, Your Majesty.
ready the carriage.
Oh, yes, she's going to go see the king.
May I say our destination?
We are going to see my husband.
Oh, yes, it's about time.
Where is he?
The observatory, Your Majesty.
All right. So let's make some...
Perhaps this is good.
Perhaps. Perhaps it is bad.
Let's move on down the road a little here.
Find out. Warm up a bit. It is a cool night.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so a little bit of something going on between them.
I'm always jealous that the King's Man has far better quarters than the Queen's Man.
Okay, so King's Man, Queen's Man. And they're together. Okay, that makes sense.
Why should I be the one to tell them anything?
It was he who refused to consummate the marriage.
She could have seduced him.
This would not have been good in these days if you got caught.
All right, now.
What? You suppose they'll spend 15 minutes together now?
Oh, let us hope for 20.
But I like these two together.
It is an observatory for looking at the stars. Now, this is a perfectly clear night.
They sort of play off each other really well.
Spending your time since the wedding.
Well, yes, it is most exciting. There is an alignment.
In this room.
And of course, she's not really understanding why he's so big on this.
Did I do something to offend you?
No,
Then
Charlotte.
what is it? What is so wrong with me?
And it's just, they're just not understanding each other.
Nothing wrong with me.
Do not become unreasonable.
George, I thought you were visiting a brothel.
So she's upset that he didn't go to a brothel.
You prefer stars to my company.
I did not say that I prefer stars.
You have been
to...
in this room.
Okay, so she's pushing it a little here.
I've been stuck in that stuffy house, being changed like a doll 3 times a day with nowhere to go.
Yeah, she's frustrated.
Nothing to do.
You're the queen. You can do whatever you like.
Except spend time with my husband.
But she really hasn't been able to do what she likes.
I do not understand what you complain about.
You can tell he's not getting it either. They're not really listening to each other.
Self apart. I do not know a single soul here except for you.
Okay, and this is getting to the heart of things.
I want to fight with you. Fight with me. Fight for me.
Go home!
Oh, and that's all he can say. Okay. Now, that section, again, we're looking at just the early days here and their marriage, and we don't know yet exactly what's going on with King George and what's going on during these days. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have watched almost the entire series, and so we do know coming up very soon we're going to get an episode that sort of is showing everything from his perspective, and I think it's very telling. But I love the way they did these first couple of episodes, and we're just seeing things from sort of a third-person type perspective. Okay, so Brimsley having to get back ready. I mean, those two have to want them to get back together.
Of satisfaction and contentment.
They are a wonder together. He is smitten with her beauty.
Because, you know, I mean, they want to live in the same house.
A great deal of talking, walking.
Laughter.
I mean, they're very good at facing the queen.
Wishes to confirm that the marriage has been consummated.
Sexually.
Man, they're so worried about that.
Certainly. I mean, from what I can tell, I would say yes.
From what I could tell, I would say yes. Well, that's one marriage that got consummated. Lots.
Mornings, evenings, middle nights, and now tea time.
And I love her. I think she, Lady Danbury, is
Member of the Ton, he
is
has
great.
a right to entry, but they refuse to allow him in.
All right. Now she's realizing what's going on here.
Now he will not be denied. He's going to try and join the hunt tomorrow.
They've got the title, but they don't have the power.
Oh dear. What if he puts another one of his gigantic babies inside me?
Oh.
And she knows it. He doesn't realize it, but she knows it. She sees it. Some more disappointment.
Must act.
I cannot make him act.
You made him consummate the marriage in front of the Dowager Princess.
Okay, so talking about that, how important it is.
I will suggest some sort of gesture.
Okay, make a gesture here and move this along.
Orange.
Oh, here they are again, doing everything for her.
The king has sent you a gift. It is waiting in the foyer.
Okay, a gift. This should be fun.
It's a gift from the king, Your Majesty.
But what is it?
I think it is a dog, Your Majesty.
Okay, so he sends her a dog.
That is a deformed bunny.
A deformed bunny. At least she has a companion now.
I will, however, always tell you how best to do the things you are not allowed to do.
All right, so he's being a good advisor.
Would one trust Lady Danbury?
Okay, so this will start their relationship.
What a beautiful dog, Your Majesty.
'Tis a deformed bunny.
It's not bunny now. Okay, so basically, again, here we're getting to see the relationship just isn't building. We don't know why. We're not going to know why probably for at least another 2 episodes, I think. But with that, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was first watching this, I really struggled with this because they cast him, the king, as such a good guy in the first episode when he kept her from going over the wall. And then after they got married, it's just like he pushed her away. And I'm sitting there yelling at the TV, what are you doing? Because he's just being such a jerk.
Please speak freely. No one else does.
Okay, it's always good to have somebody to speak freely.
He was mean and rude and selfish. He just wanted to leave.
All right, discussing their get-together.
If you did not consummate the marriage, you are not actually married to the king.
All right, so talking about what needs to be done here.
Does it have something to do with this great experiment?
And I don't think she's understanding what the great experiment is.
Sometimes it feels like it takes forever.
Well, I enjoy it.
I never have.
I mean, I love she's going to teach her about sex.
More of a chore. Perhaps if it is with someone you like, it is different.
All right, and I mean, they have a very good conversation.
Important. You are the first of your kind. You must secure your position.
All right, so you've got to have a kid.
Dog. A very rare and purebred.
All right, so basically she's telling her she's being a girl. Oh, and there they go again. He's pretty active for an older guy.
It is simple. Find a titled, appropriate young lady, marry her, make babies.
Again, this is one of the great conversations in this episode.
It helps if they are in love. Love? Yes, love. Souls.
Talk about love and getting together.
Love has produced over 50 illegitimate babies for the crown.
Goodness, those guys have been getting around.
Children have done me the honor of moving many continents away.
So she didn't really like her kids. I wonder what was going on there.
Full lifelong sentence.
Marriage offers so much
I love how they basically are opposites.
Your flower metaphors make me nauseated with their sweetness, but I applaud your point.
I like how it's sort of opposite advisors.
Simply find them wives myself, order them to marry, and they can worry about the love part later.
Okay, that's not really what she meant, but I love that is the conclusion she came up with.
Go to sleep, Pom Pom.
Okay, her little companion.
What do you want anyway?
Did you allow her to have a visitor?
Just one?
It is her honeymoon.
Oh, the King's man is not happy about this.
What is wrong with your man? What is keeping him from her bed?
Yes, that is what we are all wanting to know.
What does the Dowager Princess want with you?
I do not know.
It is my family that had a relationship with the late king.
All right, so I'm going to tell you, they cast him really well.
And if we are bold, the latest musical compositions.
I do not think the girl knows.
She knows.
Oh.
Lady Danbury. That is my title.
I love how she stands up to the Dowager Princess. I just absolutely love that. Basically, with that, this section, again, we've made some progress. He got her a dog. The big thing here is Lady Danbury sort of being that almost like an older sister to Charlotte, in that she, was telling her, you've got to secure your line, talk about sex with her, talk about what they needed to do, basically almost point out that, hey, this is a Pomeranian, this is a rare, expensive dog, and you're
You surprised
acting
me.
like this.
I always thought you were a quiet one.
And so she is letting her know, hey, you need to grow up a little.
I need to know what is going on at Buckingham House.
These two together talking.
When a
very
title
good.
is bestowed, it comes with income and land.
All right, so she knows what she wants.
Is because my father-in-law is also a king. And Sierra Leone is very rich.
Okay, so I like this background on her.
Entry to whites. I need my husband to be invited on the hunts.
She's royalty if her father was the king of Sierra Leone.
Seats at the opera.
That is grasping.
Yeah, but she knows what she wants.
Believes you have the situation in hand. Because if you do not, the House of Lords will be at your door.
And she knows what you want.
You need to know what is going on over at Buckingham House. We need to be equal members of the Tom.
And I'm not sure how much she's wanting it for herself. And here, I love the scene.
No, just away from you, wherever you are not.
Charlotte!
And the fact that he finally showed up, she walks in and he's sitting at the other end of the table.
You have no reason to trust me. I marry you and then I disappear into my observatory.
All right, and so he starts doing some explaining here.
It might not make you forgive me, but it might make you hate me a little bit less.
Well, that would be a good thing.
Oh my word, what is that?
That is Venus.
All right, so she's seeing what he's been watching
Take
for.
precise measurements, and we shall know the distance from the Earth to the Sun.
And things that are really important to him. He was very much into
It's
science.
good to remember I'm a bit of dust on a small dot in the universe.
And it sort of puts things into perspective.
I cannot imagine how painful and cruel it must have been to have me ruin your wedding night.
Okay, so he's showing some empathy here.
So, wedding night. Because we did not actually have the night part.
So he's starting to realize what needs to be done. But again, their chemistry is so tight.
I am coming home to Buckingham House.
Okay, awesome. So basically, here we have basically two things going on in this section. Basically, Lady Danbury basically fighting for her husband's rights, her rights technically, they have the title. They want the things that are supposed to go along with the title. But can you get that respect? Okay, I think that's a big if. And then, of course, the king shows up sort of suspiciously and takes Charlotte off to look at Venus through the telescope. And basically, they talk, and maybe she's understanding some now. And so he's moving back to the house. I love the middle of the night and they're moving.
Rules to protect succession. Right after the wedding, there was no possibility that you might be carrying the next king.
All right, that's because, well, you had just got married. All right, let's do it. And there is the king waiting patiently.
Might you like a refreshment after your travels?
I would.
I'm quite sure he would like some refreshments.
He's made the wrong choice.
I'm very good with buttons.
I'm going to tell you, that's a line and a half right there. Okay, so we're going to consummate the marriage here.
Seen drawings and had a detailed explanation as to what is to occur.
And she has, from Lady Danbury.
I'd like the part where my head hits the wall over and over again. Is there a way to avoid that?
Oh my gosh. All right. I don't have a lot to say here. And this is a very, very well, I think, shot tender scene. Has some passion, has some, very tenderness. And so we have consummated the marriage. And they got to play around a little too. All right. Okay, of course, the big thing here, this is the only thing this set of scenes was really about, was the importance of basically, the king and the queen doing what they should have been doing on their honeymoon night, on their wedding night, to consummate the marriage and start working on getting an heir to the throne. And so with that, I'm going to just throw out there real quick on this. I've been comparing shows, and I'm going to tell you, that love scene, all of it, and the chemistry is so much better than something like Citadel.
This is ours? Are you sure?
Where in Citadel it's just all rushed and thrown together, nothing tender, no emotion.
And apparently there are cattle somewhere.
If they would have done Citadel like this, we'd be in good shape.
The king sees me for who I am.
Okay, and back to this.
I believe
Hush, woman. I will try the key.
I have mixed feelings about this, really.
I would like us to eat together.
I do not think he has gone out, Your Majesty. I believe he is a visitor.
Because she seems to be doing it for him, but she doesn't really like him? I don't know.
To make it easier for the crown,
So, Dowager Princess is here.
Misery of a great nation, and consequently must often act contrary to my passions.
Okay, so they're having a heated discussion here.
I shall have my breakfast now. There is no need to wait for the king.
Oh, you should have probably gotten her out of there. And, of course, eating alone.
What a lovely breakfast.
And she always basically tells them the same thing.
She is gone.
Your mother has departed, Your Majesty. I saw to it myself.
Boy, I'm probably really glad she is gone, too.
I'd like to join her, I think. Shall I send for the doctor, Your Majesty?
Okay, so still having his issues.
Yes, get him here.
All right, and I don't know, it's sad.
Charlotte.
She will never know of it.
And that he doesn't want her to know is really sad. Because she really does care for him, and she needs to know, and he needs to have told her. Okay, everybody, that is our recap of episode 2 of Queen Charlotte. And now we're going to move on to the review section where I tell you some ups and downs and just sort of tell you, rant a little bit. So I said almost everything I need to say in between the section reviews, but I do want to hit there just on a couple of thoughts. And one of those thoughts is, I think when I sat here and watched this another time, I think a lot about, you know, how being an American, we tend to view George III very negative, but you get to see a whole new side in this. And I know this is historical fiction, so, you know, who knows exactly what was going on. But things like the issues with Charlotte, and we don't know how much of this actually could have happened or did happen or anything else like that. But you know, there were a couple, and there were probably issues. There were probably his mother probably was causing issues. Okay, you know, there probably was a lot of things like this at least partially going on. But I think I had a hard time with the first time I watched this separate King George, evil King George, from the person in the show, and that's sort of odd, to be honest. But you know, you find yourself liking this guy and thinking, oh, he wasn't so bad. But we do have to remember this is historical fiction. Second thing, and this is going back to something I was alluding to, and that is, and it's a positive, is with this show, the chemistry of the cast, especially between Charlotte and George, is awesome. The way they set it up, they use music, they use sort of their looks, smiles, they use everything they need to make us feel like they are one. And I mentioned Citadel because, you know, I really wanted to like Citadel. And, I mean, it's been okay. But one of the big things in a show like Citadel is you needed the chemistry between the two main people to be awesome, especially when you're having them hook up and eventually have a kid. And so, you know, there was none of that chemistry in there with them. There's no looks, it just wasn't set up. And that show, I think, would have been much better with chemistry. They needed the folks who wrote George and Charlotte here. They needed a little bit of help from them, I think, because they've done an excellent job, okay? And then the last thing I'm just going to mention here is Lady Danbury. And, you know, her relationship with her husband is confusing, okay? Because on one hand, she doesn't seem to like him. She doesn't like the act of having sex with him. And part of that is most likely, and I don't want to offend anybody here, is most likely the age difference. There's a huge age gap between the two. And while you still have that issue, it seems like she feels for him because she wants him to sort of have that respect that they are still being denied because basically they just handed out titles. They didn't really hand out money. They didn't really hand out land. They didn't hand out the respect. You can't hand out respect. You have to get that respect over time. And she sort of knows the history. You know, we found out that I guess her dad was the king of Sierra Leone. Is that what she said? And so she would have very much grown up in a royal court almost. And so she would have always had that respect. And being in Sierra Leone, if that's where she was from, which I sort of question a little bit, if she was in that court, you know, she's in a situation where she is well respected. And that might be part of why she sees the big issue, because her husband isn't really used to this. He doesn't, you know, he's sort of getting all the sort of starstruck. And she's looking at it from her perspective of basically being royalty, thinking, they're just throwing you bone. And with that, I'm really glad. I mean, she seems to want the titles and everything as much for him as she does for her. And I mean, we don't hear much about her children, but you know, it's a very interesting, complex relationship, I think. And of course, he gives her no respect. But that is one of those complex little relationships that they built on here that just sort of makes you wonder what's going on. Now, with that, everybody, there's nothing in this episode I didn't like. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, this whole idea of the king just sort of being very frustrating. It got a little better here. Eventually, we're going to see it from his side, and we're going to understand. But with that, I'm going to give this episode probably an A- range, A range, somewhere in there. Very much enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. And with that, guys, please, we're trying to get to 400 subscribers. Please hit that subscribe button. Comment below. I want to comment and talk to you all on these videos or about these videos. And finally, let's smash that like button and see how many likes we can get for Queen Charlotte episode 2. And I want you all to have a great day. See you next time on the Fandom Realm.